The world had ended, or so it seemed. The air, thick with the ghosts of buildings and the dust of a million shattered lives, tasted of grit and smoke. Silence hung over Hiroshima, broken only by distant fires and the low moans of the dying. The sun, a pale disk, barely pierced the dark shroud blanketing the city. Twisted steel skeletons reached from the rubble, rivers choked with debris and bodies. Amidst this desolation, a figure stirred, Tsutomu Yamaguchi, 29, his face a mask of soot and blood. He pushed himself up, body screaming in protest, ears ringing with the echo of catastrophe. His vision blurred, hands raw and peeling. He stared at the flattened wasteland. Yamaguchi was an engineer, a man of logic, now surrounded by the incomprehensible. It was as if a piece of the sun had been dropped onto the city. He stumbled forward, a lone survivor in a panorama of ruin. Every step was agony, every sight a nightmare. Shadows burned into walls, the injured wandering like lost souls. This was not a conventional bombing, it was something monstrous and new. Yet, Yamaguchi moved on, driven by the need to survive, to understand. He was a witness to the dawn of a terrifying new age, and as he walked through Hiroshima's ashes, he carried the first part of a story that would challenge the world's understanding of fate and endurance. Tsutomu Yamaguchi was a man of precision, a naval engineer for Mitsubishi, dedicated to building ships, not destroying them. Born in Nagasaki, he was a husband and new father, his life rooted in community and duty. In the summer of 1945, work sent him to Hiroshima for a critical project at the shipyards. Hiroshima, a vital military hub, had been strangely spared from firebombing, giving its residents a false sense of security. By early August, Yamaguchi and his colleagues were preparing to return home. August 6th was to be their last day in Hiroshima. That morning, Yamaguchi returned to his dormitory for his forgotten, a small, mundane act. It placed him on a specific street, at a specific moment, directly in the path of history's most terrible new weapon. Fate, in the form of a simple errand, would change his life forever. Just after 8, Yamaguchi walked through a potato field toward the shipyard. He glanced up at the clear sky and saw a single B-29 bomber. Two parachutes dropped from its belly. Then, a blinding flash of white light. He threw himself to the ground, hands over his eyes as a wave of pure energy seared through him. The silence shattered into a deafening roar. The blast hurled him through the air. When he opened his eyes, the world was gone, replaced by boiling darkness and a mushroom cloud rising into the sky. The left side of his body was badly burned, his shirt shredded, his skin on fire. This was no ordinary bomb. It was the birth of the atomic age. Yamaguchi was alive, but in the heart of an inferno. He had witnessed the unimaginable from ground level. Pain was immediate and overwhelming. Yamaguchi, half blind and deaf, forced himself to search for his colleagues, Akira Iwanaga and Kuniyoshi Sato. The city was unrecognizable, smoldering rubble, fires everywhere, survivors wandering in shock. Against all odds, he found his friends alive, though injured. Together they took shelter in a battered air raid bunker, listening to the city burn through the night. They had no food, water, or medical supplies, only each other, and the knowledge they'd survived the impossible. The next morning, black radioactive rain fell from the sky, coating everything in poison. Some drank it, desperate for water, unaware of the invisible danger. For Yamaguchi and his friends, there was only one goal: escape. They had to get out of Hiroshima. They had to go home. Survival depended on it. Leaving Hiroshima was a necessity, not a choice. Yamaguchi, driven by thoughts of his wife and child, joined his colleagues in a slow, agonizing journey to the ruined railway station. The train out was packed with the wounded and traumatized, every face marked by suffering. The countryside outside seemed untouched, a surreal contrast to the devastation they'd left behind. Yamaguchi drifted in and out of consciousness, haunted by Hiroshima's horrors. After a day-long ordeal, he arrived in Nagasaki on August 8th. Bandaged and weak, he found a doctor, an old friend, who treated his burns. The story he told was almost impossible to believe. A single bomb had destroyed a city. After receiving what care he could, Yamaguchi finally returned home. He collapsed into his family's arms, believing he had escaped the end of the world. On August 9th, Yamaguchi reported to work, his body wrapped in bandages, his face swollen with pain. He recounted his experience in Hiroshima to his supervisor, describing the flash, the blast, the city flattened in an instant. His boss listened in disbelief. One bomb couldn't destroy a city, he insisted. It was impossible. Co-workers murmured agreement, unable to accept such horror. Yamaguchi, frustrated, tried to explain. It was like a small sun, something new, something monstrous. As he spoke, precisely at 2 a.m., a blinding white flash filled the office. The impossible happened again. The world outside erupted in another atomic blast, this time in Nagasaki. The skepticism vanished, replaced by terror. Yamaguchi had survived the unthinkable. Twice. He was now a witness to 2 atomic bombings. Fate had marked him in a way no one could imagine. The story was no longer unbelievable. It was unfolding before their eyes. The light was terrifyingly familiar. Yamaguchi, remembering Hiroshima, dropped to the floor, covering his head as the blast wave shattered the Mitsubishi office. Glass and debris flew. The building groaned but did not collapse. His survival instincts, honed by trauma, saved him from the worst. The Nagasaki bomb was even more powerful, but the office's reinforced structure shielded him. When the shaking stopped, Yamaguchi was battered, his bandages blown away, but alive. Again. Around him, co-workers lay injured, their skepticism gone, replaced by terror. The impossible had happened twice. Yamaguchi had survived both atomic bombings. His fate was now the stuff of legend. Staggering from the ruins, Yamaguchi's only thought was for his family. He found his home destroyed, but miraculously, his wife and infant son had survived, sheltered in a tunnel during the blast. Their reunion was a rare moment of hope amid devastation. But survival came at a terrible price. Radiation ravaged Yamaguchi's body, his hair fell out, burns refused to heal, fever raged for weeks. Both he and his wife suffered from radiation sickness, an invisible, relentless poison. The physical scars were immense, the psychological wounds deeper still. Haunted by memories, Yamaguchi struggled with survivor's guilt and the constant threat of long-term illness. The bomb's effects lingered, casting a shadow over his family for years. He had survived the blasts, but the war inside his body and mind was far from over. The cost of survival was a lifetime of pain and remembrance. The scars, seen and unseen, would never fully heal. His endurance became a testament to the human spirit. For decades, Tsutomu Yamaguchi remained silent, focusing on rebuilding his life and raising his family. He was one of many hibakusha, marked by the bomb, carrying scars both visible and hidden. The memories were too painful, his story too extraordinary for most to believe. Stigma and discrimination followed survivors, and Yamaguchi sought only normalcy. But as he aged, he realized the importance of bearing witness. The deaths of his wife and son from radiation-related cancers deepened his resolve. In his 80s, Yamaguchi began to speak out, believing his survival was a calling. He traveled to the United Nations, declaring, "Having experienced the atomic bombings twice and survived, it is my destiny to talk about it." He became a voice for peace, advocating for the abolition of nuclear weapons. In 2009, he was officially recognized as a double survivor, a Niju Hibakusha. His story became a public testament to the folly of nuclear war. Tsutomu Yamaguchi's legacy endures, a survivor, a witness, and a voice for a world that must never forget